taught you, please, who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin to such extent that you bleed to get like the white man?
But he's just not a teacher. Black people now want to be taught. They don't want to be just spoken to. They want to learn something now. They want to clear the smoke.
So what is his purpose?
You have to ask him that. You can't ask me what his Minister of Farrakhan's purpose. You have to go to him and ask him that.
more you begin to investigate what we think we understand, where we came from, what we think we're doing, the more you begin to see we've been lied to. We've been lied to by every institution. What makes you think for 1 minute that the religious institution is the only one that's never been touched? The religious institutions of this world are at the bottom of the dirt. The religious institutions in this world are put there by the same people who gave you your government, your corrupt education, who set up your international banking cartels, because our masters don't give a damn about you or your family. All they care about is what they have always cared about, and that's controlling the whole damn world. We have been misled away from the true and divine presence in the universe that men have called God. I don't know what God is, but I know what he isn't. And unless and until you are prepared to look at the whole truth, and wherever it may go, whoever it may lead to, if you want to look the other way, or if you want to play favorites, then somewhere along the line, you're going to find out you're messing with divine justice. The more you educate yourself, the more you understand where things come from, the more obvious things become, and you begin to see lies everywhere. You have to know the truth and seek the truth, and the truth will set you free.
Peace and light, brothers. I wanted to definitely set the tone with that video. The zeitgeist it'll never be old to me. Like I go back and watch it from time to time now because there's more truths that are coming out that the zeitgeist been put us on, and it's other documentaries too. But before we get started, man, in true form, keeping with decorum, gotta shouts out my man's Pots and Pans, 1,000 grand in the building. Crumb is in the building, everybody. What say you, good brother? How you feeling this evening?
Peace and love, Almighty. All is truly well. Thank you for asking. Yourself?
I am pretty well. I say, you know what? At some point, we have to start the Sunday school teachings back, man. I feel like this is the first Sunday. Forgive me, I don't have my crackers and wine, but this is the first Sunday, so I feel like it's appropriate to do first Sunday. For those of you who have been sleeping under a rock for the last 30 years, if you don't know Crumb and all the great things, contributions this brother has done to contribute insight, information, science, and history to the platform of YouTube and Facebook. This guy has been on it since day one, man. Crumb, are there any updates with where you are as far as Scream? I know YouTube was a huge platform for you. Where are you now that people can find you?
Yeah, I'm actually jumping like Jordan over on Instagram. I don't know. I would say for the most part, each video does like 100,000. I did a video yesterday. I was just kind of in the mood, like, let me just make a video. And when I made the video, it's flirting with 100,000 again. I'm like, wow, each video is going to do 100,000. I didn't know that was the new norm. I'm also on Facebook, Fakebook. You already know what it is. The videos over there, I think they do like 50,000 each. I'm also on Patreon though. Patreon is where I have more of my long form content. The Instagram is 1 to 3 minutes. Facebook is 1 to 3 minutes. The Patreon is where I do an hour or something like that. But to be honest, family, I don't even really go live, except here on the Minister of Information podcast. Tap all the way in, family.
Y'all heard it first. And of course, my man, this is my gym bro too now. We be in the gym all the time. Blackbeard Barrage, brother. Tell the people who you are, how they can find you as well, good brother.
What's going on, everybody? Salute. Salute to the brother Crumb. Basically, I'm on the internet. I'm on YouTube predominantly right now. That's why I put out videos. As of recently, been doing just more live streams, so I can interact more with people in the audience and stuff like that on a variety of contents, whether it be history, religion, it could be street culture, but just a variety of things. I see myself as a Renaissance man, and I have a wide range of things I'm interested in, but that's basically where we at right now, just on YouTube. Eventually we'll be on other platforms more. But yeah, we just pushing literature, we pushing videos, and a lot more to come. But you know, I'm very, very glad to be here, and peace to everybody in the building.
Peace, peace, peace. So this conversation I'm going to have tonight, it's not a new conversation. This is a conversation we've had time and time again. I feel like it's only appropriate to have it on First Sunday. And now the title of this is The Historical Origin of Christ, but you guys know we get to talking, we're going to be here, there, to and fro. And that's okay, because I think as people listen to what we're saying, we're not fixated on one conversation, which is strictly biblical or strictly religious. We go throughout the universe, throughout the multiverse, to pull information. So I wanted to stop and pause this particular documentary. If you guys haven't seen it, it's called The Zeitgeist. Some of you guys have seen it, who've been on this warp journey for years. I would advise you to go back and watch it, and then go back and watch Matrix 1, and go back and watch Terminator 1. There's a series on I think it's Hulu, called Paradise. If you have not seen that, tap into a series called Paradise. It is also paradoxical on what's happening, what has happened, and what's going to happen here on Earth. So all this stuff is hand in hand. This is a quote. They must find it difficult, those who have taken authority as truth rather than truth as authority. We're talking about truth, standing in truth. So while tonight we may say some stuff, may ruffle some feathers, we're just picking our truth, guys. This is our portion of understanding, and everybody has their own portion of understanding, which has been given to them by the great Creator, and that portion of understanding is suitable unto you. So don't take what we're saying as say that, well, Crum said. No, Crum didn't say nothing. Crum was giving information. So I say this to M.O.I. I don't say anything. Just hearing information, our perspective. Please, with that said, we can get started. As you guys already know, I try to create these outlines for us to stay on point. Let me open my outline up real quick. And as I always say, but I forget to do, I'll email you the outline, but sometimes I forget. All right. So this is this Sunday's course outline, and of course we will not get through all of this, but I also want to hear what these guys, my comrades, have to say about this information as we comb through it. As always, we have access to pull up Google search to pull up receipts. So with that being said, I want to kick this off. Historical origins of Jesus Christ, the councils, the text, and the cultural influences. You guys do know there was a lot that influenced this ideology of a demigod coming to earth and dying for all of humanity. There's a whole story behind it. And I had a conversation over the week with someone about the story. And it's people who believe. And people who believe don't argue with believers. You're going to waste your time and your breath. Let them believe what they believe. Okay? Plant the seed and walk away. I learned that years ago as I began to unfold a lot of this stuff. Another interesting character who also propagates the faith against this is Dr. Ray Higgins. Dr. Ray Higgins is also an ex-preacher who puts out a lot of great information in regards to this. But the best demonstration I've seen was a brother by the name of what was his name? Good Lord, it escapes me just quick. I think it was his name in a second. Older gentleman. Oh, what's his name? Jeez, man. It escaped me. But anyway, after listening to his lecture, that's when I took a deeper dive into the contextual history of Christianity. And I fell in love with the history of it, not the mystery of it. The mystery is the religion. A huge influence from the Hellenistic period. You guys know the Hellenistic period held by the Greeks, or Greco-Roman period. When we say Hellenistic period, that was the Greco-Roman era. That's when Greece and Rome both had merged cultures, if you want to call it that. And this is after 323 BC. 323 BC. This is the Hellenistic influence on the religion. After Alexander the Greek, or Alexander the Macedonian, after he entered into Egypt. He left Egypt, but he left Ptolemy, his general, behind. And this began the Ptolemaic dynasty of ancient Egypt. So those Eurocentric looking statues of Egypt, it did look like that. Okay. So-called white people, if you want to call them that, they did rule Egypt. Get over it. They took over Egypt. They dressed like them, they act like them and everything. So you see these movies and they're saying Cleopatra wasn't white. Well, listen, they took over for a minute. And the key contributions of that, it says, is the creation of the Library of Alexander, the commissioning of the Septuagint, some say Septuaginta, but Septuagint, the promotion of deity Serapis, which was Osiris and Apis, and the Greek Zeus traits. Some scholars argue that Christos means anointed one, parallel titles used in Hellenistic divine kingship and possibly influenced terminology like Serapis Christos, though debated academically. I want to get you guys insight. If you guys know anything about the period of Egypt that gave birth to the religion Christianity. I wanted to open the floor for that conversation. Before we start diving into it, I wanted to open the floor for that conversation. If you guys know anything about that. Oh, that's for y'all. That's for Blackbeard or Crom. Either one of you guys could speak to that time period or know anything about that.
All right, most definitely. Brother Crumb, you can hit it first, and then I can give a comment afterwards if you want to rock like that.
Yeah, it don't matter. I think that just looking for some context to support the next conversation in the history of the Greek influence on Christianity, not necessarily the Egyptian part, but just the Greek influence on religion itself.
Oh, the Greek influence. Okay. I thought you were going somewhere else. The Greek influence. Well, yeah, when Serapis comes, the general of old boy Alexander, he wasn't initially going to be the leader, but this is all within the will of Alexander. He gifts these to his generals because he doesn't have an heir for anywhere. There are no heirs of Alexander. If we go look at his movie, a lot of white people was mad about that movie because he was portrayed as gay. I don't know if anybody remembers seeing that movie, but he was portrayed as gay, so he didn't have any. He had a boy toy. He had some street meat, but he ain't had no children. So his general Ptolemy, it's not Ptolemy family, just like it's not pterodactyl or Pfizer. It's Ptolemy. The P is silent. There's a P in pterodactyl. The P is silent. There's a P in Pfizer. The P is silent. So Ptolemy inherits this through the will of Alexander, and he becomes the de facto leader, the pharaoh, if you will. Now, remember, you might want to Google this. You may not. Pharaoh is a Greek word. Egyptians didn't call themselves pharaoh.
Wait a minute. The word pharaoh is not originally a Greek word.
Okay.
No. I'm asking you. Are you saying the word pharaoh is not? It's not a. I'm sorry. It's not an Egyptian word. It's a Greek word. Apologize.
Correct. Pharaoh's not an Egyptian word. Pharaoh's a Greek word. The Egyptians didn't call themselves pharaohs.
Greek translation. Damn. So what they call themselves? I wonder. That's crazy. Continue, please.
Yeah. So now he becomes the quote unquote pharaoh. Let me just look on my side. Hold on, dag nabbit. This is the wrong one. Let me go on my other one. When did the term pharaoh come into use in Egypt? Okay, here we go. The term pharaoh originated in Egyptian from the Egyptian phrase "pera," meaning great house, which initially referred to the royal palace. It came to be used as a direct, respectful title for the kingdom during the New Kingdom around the 18th dynasty. 17, 16, 15, 14, 13. Y'all know the numbers. The word pharaoh doesn't come into the 18th dynasty. That's way down the line. So you finally get this dude who is Ptolemy, who inherits this. Yes, Egypt is derived from the ancient Greek word Egyptos, which is used by the Greeks to refer to the country. Oh yeah, the word Egypt as well. So now these people, they come in and they try to crack the code. They tried to crack the code, Ptolemy, of the high priest. Remember, during this time, priest is equivalent to a senator, well, no, higher than a governor, damn near a president. Priest is the second highest role in the country. Go back and read your Bible with Joseph, the dream reader. He married the priest's daughter. Her name was Ashaneth. So now Ptolemy goes in and tries to crack the code and get the priest to tell him the secrets, which the priests, they die before they tell him the secrets. They die before they tell anybody the secrets. Because this, and with all due respect, these Christians, your ancient Egyptians are your first Christians. These Christians, it's not secret, it's sacred. Nobody's gonna have a conversation about trigonometry with somebody who doesn't understand arithmetic. So Ptolemy goes in there, he tries to crack the code, he tries to talk to the priest. The priesthood is a group, and they say in Spanish, "No way, Jose." So he has to piecemeal it together of what he understands through the cartoons. Yes, they had cartoons back then. The cartoons are the first mythos, because the Bible is a belief system, and the most popular of the belief systems was with these people who would die and come back to life, particularly what's the guy who died in? Matter of fact, brothers, don't say the answer. Listening audience, who's the guy in Egypt? He's really famous. He dies and comes back to life. His penis is the obelisk. His wife is a witch who brings him back to life after 3 days or whatever the case may be. So this is the low hanging fruit, if you will. I thought somebody in the comments would have to answer by now. This is the low-hanging fruit, if you will, in which he adopts it and restructures the story. Osiris, there we are. Boo, are you dumb? 9 ether L. Boo, are you dumb? 9 ether L got the answer right. It's Osiris. So he takes the story of Osiris and he becomes God, and his son is the son of God, who is the new version of Christ at this point. There is no Jesus at this time. This is just Christ. And this whole Jesus situation is the very end of the Ptolemy bloodline. The very last Ptolemy is Cleopatra. Brother, did you want me to read this? Or are you going to read this? What say you?
Oh no,
I did want to throw this one point in before you brothers read what's on the screen, but just to add to that point, because as you can say right now, this idea of the crisis is going on at this time, but of course Jesus isn't in the picture yet. But what came to my mind though is about this Hellenization period and Alexander and his generals coming into these lands, coming into Egypt and taking over. We got to remember that even before them showing up, you had these battles going on between, let's say, the royalty and the priesthood, and them fighting over position and leadership within in the nation. So what would happen is that a lot of these outsiders like Alexander, when they would come into Egypt or come into some of these neighboring countries, they were being assisted by certain rivaling parties within those nations. So, for example, in Egypt, I think we have that the priesthood of I want to say it's Amen, and you had them battling against the royal family, and Alexander being told that he's the son of Zeus, or the incarnation of the sun god. So that mythos is really some of the we'll call them the building block foundations of what later on will be known as Western civilization. Because as we think about it, they always give the start with the Greeks and the the Greco-Roman period, but of course that's an extension of the Egyptian. But that's just what came to my mind as far as that history.
Well, that war that you're referring to was initiated by Akhenaten. Akhenaten goes to war with the priesthood, and this is what you know. This is why I don't even really bang with black people too much anymore in terms of history, because black people tell history, it's so romanticized. Everything has to have some type of black in it, and the black has to be perfect. Egypt won't shit, family. Egypt won't shit. The priesthood back then was equivalent to Creflo Dollar, who changed his name to Moneybags McGee. The priesthood in Egypt was equivalent to Bishop Eddie long obelisk style, if you get my drift. The priesthood in Egypt was equivalent to Benny Hinn. Remember, Benny Hinn was doing exorcisms with his suit jacket. This is the priesthood at this time. It's a bunch of buffoonery. A bunch of fucking buffoons are running Egypt in terms of the priesthood. Akhenaten comes, he sees it, and he destroys the priesthood. Oh, Crumb, I'm not telling the minister to do that. I'm telling the listening audience, go look up the etymology of the word utopia. The etymon of the word utopia is a place that don't exist. Oh, Egypt, Kemet was a utopia. Kemet won't shit just like everywhere else. Oh, heaven is perfect. Bitch, there was a war in heaven. Heaven ain't perfect. Egypt won't perfect. No place was perfect. Akhenaten came and shut that ish down. Now, this is before Ptolemaic and the gang get there. That's why I didn't bring it up. But if we want to talk about this priesthood, that priesthood was as corrupt as that preacher down in Texas when it flooded. He didn't let nobody stay at the church.
Damn. Black Roger, any comments?
Well, I mean, he's on point with it, because that's what I see because in history, I like to look for these patterns. And what I see is that pattern of you have the nobility or the royalty, and however they were established, but what's known as like the noble family that's based on the bloodline. But then you'll have that priesthood, and you'll have that battle between them going, back and forth. And just as he said, like the modern day pastor and the manipulation, they would do that same stuff back then, manipulate their understanding of the celestial bodies and certain seasonal alignments, and tell people they got to sacrifice their daughter to them, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, he was on point with it.
Well, I also want to add this added value piece real quick is when we talk about the priesthood of ancient Egypt and later this Greco-Roman Egypt, the idea of religion. Let me back up. To Crown Point, Egypt wasn't shit. Okay, the individual who came out of Nubia. And that's how anybody start talking about ancient Egypt and they fantasize of ancient Egypt and they fantasize over the Ankh and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I asked them the origin stories of Egypt and the room goes silent. These Hotep Negroes are always tipping their hats to Egypt, but they don't give no credit or no conversation to Nubia. The Nubian Empire or the Kushite Empire was the empire that created Egypt. The Kushite Empire of the Kushite kings and kingdoms were the ones who brought Upper and Lower Egypt into the same community. Now, the reason Egypt is so celebrated, to your point earlier, because the Greeks went in and discovered or found all this great happening, which was old ancient shit by the time they got in there, 18th dynasty, right? And the Europeans revere Greek history. Europe doesn't have a history. All of the schools of thought and the philosophy and the measurements and classical stuff comes out of ancient Greek, and the Europeans claim it for themselves as part of their history, a part of their lineage. So let's get something straight. When the Greeks came into Egypt, the Greeks never had an alphabet. Let's start there. The Greeks never had an alphabet. And I'm going to show you the correlating languages of which the Egyptians applied their writing to the Greek language, which was the Demotic form of writing, and that's how the Greeks got their alphabet in the first place, right? Ptolemy coming into ancient Egypt, seeing the religion sector of ancient Egypt, began to close down all the temples in Egypt. He left one temple open, of which he housed all the manuscripts. There was one thing wrong, people. The Greeks could not read it or translate it. The hieroglyphics have been somewhat deciphered, but the metaneter has never been deciphered. You have the hieroglyphics, which is the pictorial form, the metaneter, which is the script. Then you have the hieratic and demotic form of writing. The hieratic and demotic form of writing have been translated, but the script have never been translated. Okay, so people say the Greek language, the ancient Egyptian language, ask them what form of language. Everywhere in Africa, even within the same territory, they have about 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different languages within a small sector in Africa today. If you're from Kenya, you probably speak 3 or 4 different dialects and 2, 3 different languages of the language. It's different dialects in the different languages also. No different than somebody being from New York and somebody being from Alabama. Both speak English, but the dialect is different. Same thing, right? So these Greeks now have taken possession of Egypt. The religious community in Egypt, they're called Coptic. Later, they're called Coptic priests, or the Coptic community, Coptic. They're also affiliated, it's called Melkite priests. The Melkite priests was the ones who were in the halls of Amun. They was in the halls of whoever, Tutankhamun, and the other deities and the other pharaohs, of the other, kings. We know pharaoh is a Greek word now. The other kings of Egypt. This priesthood would house the Book of the Dead, or coming forth by day, they call it. These priests knew it. There's another community, however, who also knew the text. We'll meet them later. They're called the Levitical priests. And the Levitical priesthood also knew the manuscripts of ancient Egypt. Later conversation. This says Ptolemy not Ptolemy, thanks for correcting that. Ptolemy I Soter. Now the word Soter means savior. Soter means savior. This is Ptolemy the savior. This is BC, so there was no Christ. There was no Jesus, okay? Was the Macedonian Greek general, historian, and successor of Alexander the Greek, who went on to found the Ptolemaic kingdom. This was an entire kingdom of Egypt. These were so-called white people ruling Egypt. All of it. See the map right here? The Ptolemaic kingdom. Hermopolis, all that stuff got switched over. These are all Greek terms now. Took over the whole entire border from Damascus, which is, Palestine, Syria, all of it belong to the Ptolemaic kingdom. These are Greeks who have now conquered this area. 3rd and 2nd century BC. And in BC time, you count down. So we're about to go into AD in a minute. He ruled from 305 to 304 BC. His death in 282 BC. That's why time is going down. His descendants continued to rule Egypt until 30 BC. So from 282 BC to 30 BC, it's 100 and something plus years that they ruled Egypt. During their rule in Egypt, it became a thriving basin of Hellenistic civilization. the term Hellenistic. This Christianity is also Hellenistic. The civilization in Alexandria, in the great seat of Greek culture. Egypt gave birth to Greek culture. There was no Greek culture. There was no Greek culture. Well, what about all the Greek gods? And listen, this shit developed in Egypt. Egypt developed Greece. As far as it becomes to philosophy, people like Aristotle, Pleiades, they're all students of Egypt. Ptolemy I was the son of whoever his name is, Macedonian, by her husband Logos. Ptolemy was also Alexander's most trusted companion and military officer. You guys anything to add? We ain't got to meat potatoes yet. I just want to say, because I feel like sometimes we just dive into conversation with people about things and don't know the backdrop. I feel like the backdrop is so important to understand why this entity came about. If you don't know about I keep saying Ptolemy. If you don't know about Ptolemy and him creating Serapis and then his son creating the Septuagint, then it makes no sense to dive into other things like the Council of Nicaea and the Council of this. What happened before the Council of Nicaea happened? Like what brought this shit about? The KJV version, this version of the Bible. What was the first Bible that they printed? What was the first Bible they was dealing with? This all leads back to that. I yield the floor. Go ahead, bro.
No, I was just gonna say that yeah, it's a good point to start with this, because when it comes to the Levant and that part of what would that be in Northeast Africa, these Grecians that came down there, these were a multi-ethnic group of people. And as far as what we say today as like a Caucasian person of that phenotype, yeah, they were with them. That's why we have that's why the so-called Middle East looks mixed up now. But yeah, I'm just coasting with it, just sitting there watching it. I see what you're building into and where we're going with it, and I'll pull it back.
That's it, because I'm about to go right into the council meetings. I just want to show people who Ptolemy was and what he did and what he set up. And Ptolemy is the reason that you have the image in the first place of who you think Jesus Christ is. He's responsible for the imagery, not this image. This is a bust of him. But Ptolemy, as Crom said earlier, he comes and create what was his name? Serapis. Here it is. I spelled it all wrong. Serapis. This is Serapis, which we all seen before. This is Serapis Christos. This is the entity that he created. And the worshipers of Serapis were called Christians. This is BC. This is before Jesus comes on the scene. This is the historical origin of Christ. I didn't say anything about Jesus when we talked about it today, but this is the historical origins of Christ. This is the precursor for what the council meetings begin to talk about. Now, brother, are you familiar with the nature of the council meetings, like the Council of Nicaea? Are you familiar with the nature of why the Nicene Council was called in the first place?
Yeah, I am personally. Yeah, they had several of them.
Could you give us some? I'm gonna pull up to talk about it. Could you pull up? Could you kind of enlighten us on your understanding of it?
Oh yeah, just real quick. Basically, it was just several arguments they had on how the foundation of this newly established Christianity that the Roman government wanted to create, and how they were going to deal with Jesus as far as his divinity, and the concept of the Holy Trinity was also included in it. You had a different priest, I believe, like one of them, his name was Arius, but yeah, but you had this concept of the Messiah being the son. In other words, the son and the father not being equal was one of the debates. So it was a variety of debates that was going on during this time period, and eventually, what we know of as the Orthodox, Catholic Church doctrine, that's what won out. But yeah, you probably about to go into the Yeah, the different debates. Yo, yeah, I see it on the screen right now. Yep.
Yeah. So this council meeting was basically not hosted by Constantine. Constantine didn't put it together. Constantine didn't call there. He didn't email everybody and told them he didn't do a Zoom call. This has nothing to do with Constantine. Constantine simply resided. Constantine was not interested in none of this shit. See, Constantine's position as emperor was also the position of what later became the Pope. You notice how the emperors or the Caesars went away, and then popes started to emerge. The popes became the Caesars and the emperors. So Constantine was the Pope. He just resided over it. You just had to have him. It's just a setup. It's just protocol. He just had to be there for protocol. He didn't give two shits about none of it, honestly. Constantine doesn't come into full reconciliation of the idea of Christianity until there's a battle, and he sees a cross in the sky. Supposedly, he sees a cross in the sky, but crosses were very common throughout the Greco-Roman era because they use it as torture chambers. They use it as a mechanism of killing people. So the cross wasn't a significant sign that he saw necessarily to start Christianity. But this is one of the things that they put in the story. Constantine saw the cross. Constantine gets baptized at the Council of Ferrara. Once he receives his baptism, he gives up his donation, which is a staff, the same staff that the Pope carries today. He gave it over to an African bishop by the name of Sylvester I, making Sylvester I now one of the clergy of the high courts of the newly developing Roman Catholic Church. And that's how he got in. Prior to that, he did not call it. He was just there. The topic of discussion, however, was Arianism. Brother Aries was an African bishop. Arianism is a Christological doctrine that rejects the traditional notion of the Trinity, teaching that Jesus was created by God and is therefore distinct from God. It is named after proponent Arius and is regarded as heretical by most modern mainstream branches of Christianity. Arius was arguing that the nature, now they are creating the nature of Serapis. He has to have a nature now. This is the creation of the nature of the entity I just showed you earlier, because there is no such thing as Jesus at this point, guys. Does not exist yet. Not how you know it today. It's being created. Arianism is the nature of Christ, celebration of Passover, ordination, the Eucharist, the prohibition, of kneeling on Sundays. Could you imagine if Kaepernick was around back then? They prohibited people from kneeling on Sundays, and from Easter to Pentecost. Validity of baptism, heretics, lapse in Christianity, sun-dry, and other matters. So there's a couple of different matters at hand they were dealing with. In particular, they had to seal the idea that Jesus was one with God and that he is God. So they brought about what's called the original Nicene Creed. The Nicene Creed is also known as the Homogeneous Creed or the Hanadican. The agreement was the church would agree to this creed. The churches you have today, the Black Baptist churches especially, all agree to the Nicene Creed. It's also called the Homogeneous Creed. I said at the beginning, it's called the Homogeneous Creed. This creed said that anybody in the institution and believing in the institution will declare and decree out loud. This is their their oath, that God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit. This was all created before Jesus happens. This is the origin of it. In my humble opinion, that's how you should deal with believers. The Nicene Creed, also called the Creed of Constantinople, is the defining statement of belief. This is the defining statement of belief. This is what, if you are a Christian, they're going to ask you, do you believe in Christ? Do you believe he died for your sins? Do you believe that he is da-da-da-da? They're getting you to admit to this creed or to this obligation or to this oath. It's a blood oath. And those in Christian denomination all must adhere to it. If you are a Christian, you must adhere to this oath. Now let's talk about early Christianity. And I'm gonna pass the mic. I want to get you guys to help explain some of this stuff, because I know you guys know it. You don't hear my voice the whole time. What these guys. This is Sunday school. We're diving into it. We're not just going to do the surface stuff as far as the Bible is concerned. Everybody knows the Bible now, I think. But let's dive into something that's real quick. When were Christians first called Christians? Was it at Antioch with Paul? Was it after Jesus died? At what point were they called Christians? Remember, I told you that Ptolemaic I created Serapis Christos, or Serapis, but the followers of Serapis were Christians. A controversial 2nd century letter attributed to the Emperor Hadrian claimed that the worshippers of Egyptian gods Serapis and Alexander also referred to themselves as Christians or bishops of Christ. Now, of course, they're going to argue that, but these are all Christians. These are the worshipers. Even today, the worshipers today are worshiping Serapis Christos. They're not worshiping the ideology of Jesus the Christ, they call him. Christ itself, taken from Serapis Christos himself. So the early worshipers of Christian, early worshipers of Christianity were called Christians. Hold on. Somebody said something. I literally just had the same conversation with someone today. The question was, how did we go from a Black Madonna to the representation of Christianity today? That's easy. We just showed you. Greeks came in and took over the whole thing. And what the Grecians began to do was something called iconoclasm.
Yeah, iconoclasm. Yeah.
And with iconoclasm, they began to break different images. Iconoclasm, image breaking, deliberate destruction of religious or political images and monuments, typically motivated by beliefs such as veneration, constitutes idolatry. It serves to redefine power, reject establishment, often theological doctrine, and enforce new ideology, appearing historically in periods like the Byzantine, Roman, Greeks, same thing in the Reformation eras of 726 and 843. This is what they did.
I got a question for y'all real quick. So the group of people today that we call Black Americans, really, I mean, our ethnic and national group here in the United States of America, my question is that during these periods when Christianity was being, these building blocks were being laid down, what is the affinity, the love, that connection that they have to Christianity today? Is it stemming from these early periods, or is it stemming from, do you all think, our like grandmother's generations of really just a couple decades ago in this modern Black church Christianity we grew up in? Like this link that we have to it today, where do you all think that is vibrating from? Is it vibrating from this recent Black church era, or is it vibrating, do you all think, from this ancient foundational era before Christianity was formed? Just your analysis. It ain't really like a right or wrong answer, but just from your perspectives.
Was it a question for us?
Yeah.
I'll say this and I'll pass the microphone. I think that and this is something that I beat to death like a dead horse. I think the affinity of the Negro worshiping and the manner that they do today does not come out of anything older than what was called the Third Great Awakening. Prior to the Third Great Awakening, which is the latter part of the 1800s, you did not see Negroes worshiping in the manner that they do today. Now,
Right.
earlier on in the early colonies, of course, you had black evangelical preachers, but that was more Pentecostal preaching and not what we see today. William Penn, the founder of Pennsylvania, and Lord Baltimore, they brought it. Let me back up. You remember now, the pilgrims who came were a bunch of religious freedom riders.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They're not called pilgrims. They made a pilgrimage, and the individuals who made the pilgrimage were labeled as pilgrims, but they were individually. They were Brownists, they were Calvinists, they were Pentecostal, they were what's the other one? various sects of beliefs before they came to the colonies. That was called the First Great Awakening. The Negro population of America, as we see it today, did not really get involved with the serious religious movement until it was called the Third Great Awakening. That's when you get Sweet Daddy Grace, Father Divine, Noble Jew Ali, and the first real worshiping or temples of Islam, later become the Nation of Islam, started to come into practice. You didn't see Negroes in large droves. Even in the slave movies, they show you that they had to be taught Christianity. And
Right.
slavery was latter 1800s, not earlier 1700s.
Right.
Between colonization of the 1600s to the later 1800s, you don't really see Black people in large populations gathering to worship this Jesus ideology.
You do not.
In the latter 1800s and the early 1900s, you see these large movements, a large push to religion on so-called Negroes in America. That's
That's what I see too. That's why I asked that question, because you know, even in my own family, like my grandmother's generation, for example, she was born in 1924, but you know, when I ask around, when they were growing up, they weren't going to church. You know, they started going to church, hanging out more. My grandmother was in her 60s, but it was more like a social gathering thing. It wasn't really like they probably was into the Christianity as much. But no, you're right. Like everybody that knew about the American Indian ancestry and heritage, when I look at my own family, they weren't going to church. So you're correct about that that awakening that took place in that late 1800s, early 1900s. Because prior to that, you don't really see it.
No. You don't see the rise of any significant Black pastors or bishops or clergy either. I mean, like I said, Father Divine and Sweet Daddy Grace were like the biggest top two that you hear about that was making moves. Like they were the T.D. Jakes and Creflo Dollar of their era. Not saying that they were wicked or whatever.
Right.
But of that era, and that's how people like Noble Jew Ali was able to capture the hearts and minds of Negroes under a whole new religious movement, because Islam was not present the way we think it was in North America historically. In the early 1700s or early 1600s, there were plots and groups of individuals who knew about Islam. Let me correct myself if somebody say some dumb shit. Of course, Islam's everywhere. Right.
What
I'm saying is, as huge as it is right now, you didn't see mosque or masjids nowhere in North America prior to the first one being in Detroit, Michigan, and then later Chicago, and then later I want to say somewhere in Ohio. But there were large groups of migrant Mohammedans or worshipers or believers in the religion out in the Midwest, and that's who Margaret Singer. This is the early 1900s now. This is who Margaret Singer went after, that group of vagabonds, Muslims at that point in time, because that's where it was founded at. So to answer your question, that's my answer. I think that Negroes didn't really get into it until the latter 1800s or early 1900s. It was forced upon Negroes. However, we do know that this stuff was being propagated on the plantations. The large population of individuals on plantations, however, also still kept to their traditions at night. They would definitely beat drums and dance around fire at night, keeping in tune with their situation, what they believed in. A lot of Negroes got tricked. It was called psychonegrosis, and the term itself was coined by Carter G. Wilson, because that's what happened. That's what happened. I yield the floor. Sorry, got a little long wind on that, but that's what I believe that happened. Carl may have a different opinion, but that's what I think. I don't think that here it is right here. I haven't showed it in a while, but this is right here. Hold on. This is we're documenting in the 1960s from the latter part of the 1800s. I'm sorry, 1800s. The latter part of the 1800s, after 1868, 70, up until about 1940. The minds and hearts of Black people were won by pride, who they were, race pride, still steeped in their cultural, um, um, alikeness. Right? You had two different groups of Negroes from the latter 1800s to the early 1940s. You had a upper echelon group of Negroes who were out to prove themselves to white America through their the way they dressed, the way they thought, their education, the way they talked, the way they spoke. You had an underclass of Negroes who really didn't give a fuck about none of it at all, and they stuck closer to their traditions. That's where me growing up, my grandmother would always mention, like, don't split a pole, like don't just the little, what they call them, wives' tales or folklore.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It was very present and prevalent in that time until it got all washed away through religious movements. Individuals like Dr. King and his family, go back with his family, and other individuals who were religious after the movements. They ushered religion into Negroes. It says this is a mental disorder affecting the spirits and personality motives of action of Negroes who fail to rid themselves of psychological ills they have occurred from their collective experience with foreigners. Those foreigners are so-called white people. This disorder is marked by a ideal of self and others. Psychoneurosis results in unnatural patterns of perception, logic, thought, speech, behavior, and emotional expression, and is accompanied by various other unnatural dispositional manifestations, such as, but not limited to, self-group depreciation, the champion of non-Black ideas. Hold on, my screen is covered right here. Of non-Black ideas, conversion to non-Black religions, and xenophilia, especially Anglo-centric xenophilia. That's Christianity. Cognitive dissonance, sexual deviance, escapism, dual or double consciousness, conflicting loyalties, unscrupulous liberalism, differing in degrees from severity to one individual to another. That's psychoneurosis. No, it's not in the fucking DSM-5 or DSM-6, DSM-9. This was a term that was coined. The mental condition, after observation how Negroes were acting in the 60s, this is what happened. So if you need a word to express how Negroes are acting through religion, well, why are they worshiping the white Jesus? Why are they not doing it? It's because they have a condition called psychoneurosis.
Yeah, it would be disingenuous to think that, like, after all of this, because, you know, for one, this is what's called behavioral modification. You know, and also, you know, I mean, you know, loose terms would be like mind control programming, but, you know, this is applied behavioral analysis. So for us to have gone through some of these traumatic situations and also conditioning, like, 'cause that's another thing. Like, I know a lot of people from other ethnic national groups, you know, they may look upon our people and see some of the things that we're doing. And, you know, even though today we may be doing certain things that display poor behavior, but we were conditioned to get involved in this now. So it's it just nah, it would be disingenuous to think that it's nothing going on. Like, man, at the end of the day, you know, it's our people literally worship something that, you know, because that's what I was even saying. Like, with my grandmother, man, from rural deep South Georgia, like, she would understand, you know, the racism thing when it came to Caucasian people and stuff like that. But how would she be able to reconcile that? Okay, they beefing with us on this one hand, but on the other hand, this Jesus Christ image that they got on this large Bible on the front of it, but this is God though. Like, that's where the cognitive dissonance comes in. So I don't know. I just had to throw that out there a little bit for a minute, man. Like, yeah, our people have something going on for them to, you know, still be engaging in that, man.
That's what's up, bro. Crunk, anything to add, brother? Or you good?
Yeah, can you Google anecdotal evidence is not evidence?
Oh, hold on. Okay, say it again.
Anecdotal evidence.
How you spell that? Anecdotal.
ANECTDOTAL.
Evidence
is not evidence. Yeah, you got to keep going.
Okay. Hold on. Me on. It's not evidence.
Here we go.
Anecdotal evidence. Go ahead, brother. The floor is yours. Damn.
Anecdotal evidence is generally considered unreliable for establishing facts because it's based on personal, non-representative, and unverified testimonials rather than systematic data. When offering compelling, when while often compelling, these signal data points cannot prove cause and effect and are prone to cognitive bias like cherry picking. Uh, so the whole grandma said it's all steeped in anecdotal evidence. As far as I know, grandma's a goddamn liar. But with that said, if we want to play that game, my grandma, she would say when it's storming, sit because my grandma never went to church, but she said when it was storming, sit down, God doing his work. And as far as I know, because I went to church all my life, I'd never seen in the Bible where God was doing his work in a storm. Never anywhere in the Bible did it say God is doing his work when it storms. So where did that come from, Grandma? Because that's not scripture. But if you look back, that goes back to antiquity. But to the other point, in terms of the religious historicity of it, Dylan Roof. See, Black people, we for a long time we were separated from reading and ish, and that's why we kind of lean towards the anecdotal thing because we were ostracized from the books. But the white people, they know our history. Dylan Roof. I want to ask the listening audience, press 000 if you remember Dylan Roof, the white boy who shot your shit up. Dylan Roof. If you remember who that is, because I know a lot of people got TikTok brain in 2026.
Oh, everybody should remember him.
But if you remember him, press 000. Because the thing about Dylan Roof, he wasn't some random dude who goes up into some random church and shoots up some random people. The church that Dylan Roof went in and shot 9 people, shout out to the number 9, that was the church from Denmark, VC.
Oh, shit. Really?
That was Denmark VC's church. This is from one of the biggest slave revolts in American history in 1822. So now, this is a part of the hub, if you will, the epicenter, the primary place of community. My grandma told me back in her day, the church wasn't the church that y'all know now. The church was the place where we babysit. The church was the place where we would go to have our secret meetings. The church was everything in terms of the community hub. And this goes back to Denmark VC. When we were planning to do an uprising, it was, those plans were in the upper room of these Black churches. So number one, the Black church, now keep in mind, this wasn't one of these Baptist situations. These were Methodists. I think it was called an AME. What does AME stand for? I forgot.
African Methodist Epistle.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Yes, sir. Thank you. Keep me honest. This was an AME church back in those days. So now, I just want to point that out in terms of history of the pivotal role that the church plays. In addition to that, I just want to point out to the family, this whole thing where grandma said this and grandma said that, it's interesting that it's anecdotal evidence. And the reason grandma may have said that, but she said that behind closed doors, is because grandma, a part of her ass staying here on the East Coast was that she gave up her nationality. And this is interesting with so-called Black people in America, because y'all remind me of Ruth and Naomi, where you give up who you are so that you can go to a certain place. Because had your ass said you was Indian, your ass be in Oklahoma somewhere, because they would have deported. So your grandmas in them, they gave up their language, they gave up their mores, they gave up their culture, they gave up the way they spoke in order to stay over here with the white man. Because my grandma had a conversation with me, but if I would have ever said that in public, she would have denied me like Peter denied Jesus 3 times before the cock crow.
Mm.
And a lot of these Masons, I'm sorry, excuse me, a lot of these Indians who stuck to their guns and they didn't want to integrate, blah, 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 they not transformed, they finally got down with the get down under the auspice of Masonry. The first set, grandma and them, nah, I ain't no Indian. I don't know Jesus. All right, well, here, you cool, you can stay. Then the ones who after the Great Migration, they go over to the Midwest, they under Albert Pike, they convert in terms of integration under the auspice of Masonry. And I find it super interesting when Black people talk about grandma and them, they never talk about how grandma and them had integrated through Masonry. And a lot of these Indians it was the came into the fold of being quote unquote nationalized through the ranks of Masonry. It was called and this is the thing, when you look at the Indians, these Indians are wearing aprons with fringes on them.
Hold on.
You hit a point. Cause just to even throw this in there, it's a picture on the internet right now where it shows a lot of melanated Americans, so-called Black Americans, and they look like, our grandparents, great-grandparents, sometime in the early 20th century. And they all are dressed like American Indians standing in front of a Masonic lodge. And in like the upper left-hand corner of the picture, you can see the square and compass on the building. So yeah, the brother Crumb, he just dropped the atomic bomb.
Let me find the catch up first because I want to see this.
Oh yeah. There's a picture online where it shows like some older Black Americans, and they all dressed like American Indians, and they're standing in front of a Masonic building. And even what he's saying is true to even my own family. Like I've even found out about certain Eastern stars and people in our family that, they may have known certain information but didn't talk about it yet. You just went ham, my guy. You just went ham. You just went ham, man.
Where are these Masonic Indians at? Like, is it a lodge back then? This is new to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Give me just a second. Let me.
I'm just saying about it.
Apparition.
Wow.
As a matter of fact,
let me share a screen real quick, if that's okay, family.
Yeah. Take mine off.
Allow.
That's all yours.
Share.
That's crazy.
So, for the family who may not know me personally, the way I came up is through all wise, right, and exact tutelage. I'm not dealing with what I think. I'm not dealing with my opinion. I'm not dealing with any agenda. We're going to let the information speak for itself. Never forget the natives were slave trade Freemasons too. Absolutely everyone has played a part in our oppression, and they're trying to tell us it didn't happen. These are dark-skinned. They're not 9 ether. Bear with me. But some of them, the dude to the far right, I ain't gonna lie, him and I had locks that looked the same. I had locks like that. So these are the after they got breeded out. After they got breeded out, they were let me see if I can get this to be a little bit bigger. They converted. Native assimilation. Masonry follows the course of European intrusion and encroachment. Starts in the northeast with the Iroquois, goes southeast, ends up in the Great Lakes area. I'm gonna skip that part, but you can see the feathers that emulate the square and compass. Joseph Bryant, which is his given name, his family name was Chief Thayidaniga. And I just find it very interesting. The very last 5 letters of his name is it looked like nigga to me. That's a reach. But it looked like his name was nigga. That's what his mama called him. But this dude, he had even went over to King George III, as a part of the integration. But anyway, let me skip him. Well, not skip him, but here is his gravestone. And one thing about being a Mason is you get a Masonic burial. This is not just a 33rd degree where we pretend you're dead and we raise you back to life. This is an actual real burial. Samuel Parker was a big influencer with them as well. John Ross, a lot of you, I'm Cherokee, Crumb. Okay, fine, you Cherokee. Well, your Cherokee leader was one of the biggest Masons out west. Just as John Ross, let me just was the principal chief of the Cherokee Nation from 1828 to 1866. He's the principal chief of the Cherokee Nation. John Ross. There's John Ross's gravestone. That's a Masonic burial. And there it is a little closer. Let me skip. Parker, he's one of the ones who gave us the history of Masonry. But these are half-breeds. And the reason these are half-breeds is because this is when they first start to assimilate. Hey, fine. We're not going to speak our native tongue. We're not going to have our native dress. We're gonna dress like the European. This is after Trail of Tears when they first decide to assimilate. Now, remember, our parents, they stayed over here because they've been decided to assimilate. Hey, you know Jesus? I don't know no Jesus. Then Peter runs some more. I don't know no Jesus. Then Peter runs again. Jesus, cock crows 3 times. I don't know Jesus. Grandma and them stayed on the East Coast because they said from the get-go, hey, listen, I'm not with that Indian shit. So the ones who said I am go over to they get kicked out, Trail of Tears. And when they finally integrate, it's under Masonry. So Crumb, you go look at the Gmail logo and you go look at the Royal Arch apron. Family, the daggone Indians been wearing these aprons with the Hebrew fringes, with the
Facts.
juicy fringes.
Yep. And just to interject real quick, even the image on the screen right now of that it's a silk American Indian Masonic apron from like the 1840s. And if you zoom in on it, you can clearly see a melanated, dark-skinned, copper-colored American Indian, which is look like almost red, white, and blue feathers, talking to what appears to be a Caucasian so-called quote-unquote pilgrim. And we just talked about the pilgrim. But this is showing that, Masonic secrecy and them working together behind closed doors. Like when I mentioned in the movie Rosewood, when they were working together in Rosewood. But isn't it very interesting that they have a person on this apron dressed like, not even dressed, but their ethnicity is of a so-called Black American. And yeah.
And if you look above him, he's going to have that crescent moon and star right above him with the 6 pointed. There's 6 points around the crescent moon and star. That's the star that we know right now of the so-called Jewish people.
Right.
Caldwell writes the book. He's one of the first ones to influence the development of pan-Indianism, American Indian Freemasonry. And he pulls from what his grandma told him. It's what his grandma told him. The Little Water Medicine Society of the Senecas. This is in New York, family. This is where ODB and the gang come from. The Council of the Animal Affairs restores the life of the good hunter. This is your typical 33 Masonic degree, the raising of that guy who died. I forgot his name. The minister knows his name. The guy who died from the 3 ruffians.
Hiram Abiff.
This is the raising of Hiram Abiff. But look, the Hiram Abiff is a Black dude. He has his apron on. Instead of the lion's paw, it's the bear paw. Ain't no lions in America. And they're encircling him in the Masonic ritual. This is before Masonry comes. So by the time Masonry comes, this fit like a Michael Jackson glove. So now you got this is according to Morals and Dogma, written by Albert Pike on page 80, the mock resurrection of the Master Mason. Crumb, Africa. Okay, fine, no problem. I don't have a dog in the fight. whether it be Africa, whether it be America. Listen, let's talk our ish. But if you go back to America, you can have the same thing. Same girl, same girl. Shout out to R. Kelly and Usher.
And you know what else just came to my mind? You all may or you may not remember, but back in the 90s, it was Mortal Kombat, I want to say 2. It was the one basically, I think, when he met Nightwolf out there in the sand. But basically, in order for Liu Kang to go to the next level to reach his animality, or like his spirit animal, he had to get initiated from Nightwolf. And Nightwolf put him through the ritual in the desert, and then of course Liu Kang ended up doing what he did. But yeah, the American Indian, they had their own form of this. You going in, Crunk? Keep going, bro. Keep going. I just want to throw that in there. Keep going.
Look and yeah, somebody Bruce Lee, keep me honest. It wasn't Seneca. Seneca Village is Central Park. It was the Shinnecock tribe that ODB was from. Keep me honest. Thank you, brother. But yeah, look at old boy in the bottom left-hand corner. What are you wearing, bro? What is that you're wearing? What are you wearing? Son, what regalia is that? Anyway, moving forward, because that dude, he dark. Now I know this is black and white.
That's a 5-pointed star in the claw of the Bengal tiger. That's the claw of the Bengal tiger. There's 2 tiger claws and a 5-pointed crescent. If you notice at the chart you have right under him and the bottom right, the chart under, that right there. Okay, that symbol and the symbol right next to the right of it, the one to the right of it, with the saboteur going through the pharaoh's head. That's the ancient Arabic order of the Noble Mystic Shrine. Those are the ones those 16 white boys came back to New York and created. The one with the saboteur on top of the Bengal tiger claws, that's the ancient Egyptian order of the Noble Mystic Shrine. 2 different orders. The white boys are called nobles. I'm sorry, the melanin people called nobles. The white boys are called Shriners. White people can't be nobles. They don't have the nobility blood in them at all. So to why this chief will be wearing a symbol that represents Shrindom, I would say it was a gift. Somebody gifted him that. It was a gift given to him, that I would say, because the ancient Arabic order and the ancient Egyptian order of a Noble Mystic Shrine derives out of the Far East. So I think it was a gift given to him. I'm gonna do some research on it, but I think it's interesting that he has an apron on as well in that bottom picture that you provided. He also has an apron on, and he's doing the Masonic handshake as well. This is interesting, brother. Please continue with this. This is interesting. I'm intrigued.
Freemasonry after the Trail of Tears. If you look to the right, it says the story of Oklahoma Masonry, the first 75 years of symbolic masonry from 1874 to 1949. This is the integration. Historic Tahlequah, the Cherokee era advocate owned by the Cherokee Nation, was published here. It was printed in Cherokee and English, 1/2 block west in 1848. The first Masonic lodge was established in what is now Oklahoma. There it is. This is 1848. This is before 1865 is the whole, oh, we free. Well, whatever you want to call it. If you think you was free, then you was free. Fine, whatever. But 1848, this is prior to the whole Abraham Lincoln thing. 1848, the Grand Lodge of Arkansas granted a charter to the Cherokee Lodge number 21, the first lodge in Indian Territory. This is the capital of the Cherokee Nation. I'm going to skip that. Cherokee Masonic Lodge 10, first lodge of 1848. Cherokee Lodge, the Euclid Lodge 45. Pike's Indian Brigade. Pike was a noted Masonic. This is by the time slavery comes around. I'm sorry. This is by the time the Civil War comes around. Excuse me. Pike was noted was a noted Masonic scholar from Arkansas. Although he opposed secession, he was loyal to his state. In August of 1861, he was commissioned a brigadier general and negotiated several treaties between the 5 civilized tribes and the Confederate States. Those treaties specifically stated that the Indian regiments would only be used in defense of the Indian territory. When General Somebody took command of the Trans-Mississippi District, which included the Indian Territory, he ordered Pike to assemble his regiments and join the Army of the West. Pike protested, stating that this was a violation of the treaties. Van Dorn ignored Pike's objections. Pike's Indian Brigade, prior to P Bridge, Pike's Indian Brigade had about 1,000 soldiers, which included a unit of Texas cavalry. The brigade played a role in the Leetown battlefield, protecting the Confederate right flank. After ambushing a company of the 3rd Iowa Cavalry, they came under fire from federal artillery, which disorganized and scattered the Indian Brigade. When a number of federal troops were found dead with their heads scalped and bodies mutilated, the Indian troops were accused of the atrocity, and Pike was vigorously denounced throughout the North. In July of 1862, he resigned his commission, saying that the Confederate government was violating the treaties with the Indians. They tried to integrate, but Incredible Hulk style. You don't like me when I'm angry. Ish got real. They started scalping people. These are all Indian chiefs. This is Choctaw. The Hot-Chu-Tuckney Snapping Turtle clan was a Choctaw chief of Choctaw and Anglo-American ancestry. He was a principal chief of the Choctaw Republic from 1864 to 66. Educated in Choctaw culture in American schools in 1825, helped found a school for Choctaw boys, the Choctaw Academy in Kentucky. He also worked to reduce the sale of alcohol in their territory. We'll talk about alcohol another day. After removal to Indian territory in the 1830s, he was appointed to be the National Council in 1845 of the Choctaw Delegate, akin to the ambassadorship to DC at the time. At the time, the nation was proposing to be recognized by the Congress as a territory. This is 1830s. After the war, Perkins returned to D.C. to represent Choctaw interests and work for government concession for the Choctaw land sold under pressure to the United States in 1830 during the Indian Removal Act. He became a prominent member of the Masonic Order. In 1860, he was raised to the 33rd degree Mason of the Scottish Rite by Albert Pike himself. Same thing with Holmes Colbert. This is Chickasaw. Hopefully you guys recognize these names. The 19th century leader of the Chickasaw Nation in Indian Territory, of mixed European and Chickasaw ancestry. We're not bringing none of you full-blood, nappy head, wide-nosed, big lips Indians into the fold. You gotta have a white daddy, a white zaddy, or a white mammy, and then we'll come talk to you. You're gonna have to integrate, and a part of your integration is that you be of mixed blood. You got to have some type of European in you for us to let you integrate into the situation. I'm gonna skip him. Native American Freemasonry. This is by Joy Porter. Associationalism. I'm not reading that. National Congress of American Indians. This is 1944. I'm gonna skip that one too. The improved, we're going to make it better. Butter makes everything better. The Improved Order of Red Men, the fraternal organization established in North America in 1834. That's a long time ago. But let's go back even further. On December 16th, 1773, a group of colonists, all men, and members of the Sons of Liberty met in Boston to protest the tax on tea imposed by England. When their protests went unheeded, they disguised themselves as the Mohawk people, you might know that name as well, proceeded to Boston Harbor and dumped overboard 342 chests of English tea. This would historically be known as the Boston Tea Party.
That's bullshit. I'm sorry. Continue. I'm sorry. Nobody dumped tea in the harbor. Go ahead though. That story is made up, y'all. That story is completely hogwash. They were not fighting over tea. They could care less over a tea. And this is not towards Crumb point. So don't, I'm just saying, like, the historical idea of the Boston Tea Party and the harbor, and somebody dressed up on, just like the Prince Hall Mason said, that Prince Hall snuck on board the ship that same night and stole the charter and put it inside of his coat pocket and all this shit. This is anecdotal information. Nobody went on the ship to throw tea in the harbor, family. Okay, they did just like Indians though, but for a whole other reason that we'll get into later. Continue, please. This is good.
Freemason, The American Indian by William Denslow. Also from California, Freemason on the Frontier, Freemasonry's influence on the American West. This is a part of the integration. And of course, that was a real quick scan through it. This is 38 slides, and I didn't even read a quarter of them. But with that said, the truth is, you had two sets of Indians. The ones who said before the Trail of Tears, we're not going to claim Indian and you could stay, and the ones who got shipped to the West and then they converted through Masonry. I yield the floor.
Damn. No, that was fucking excellent, brother. That was excellent presentation. I don't. You got anything follow that up with, good brother?
Nah, he pretty much took it where he needed to take it, because I just wanted that American Indian, Freemasonic connection thrown out there. A lot of what he just went to. When I saw that apron, because it was interesting to me, and and I ended up finding a lot of what he talked about. But yeah, that was good, man. It was good.
And then a lot of those so-called Indians had the fringes on their pants and everything too. And you would see later the white boys who went out west, who were later called cowboys, because that the Negroes were called cowboys first. Mm-hmm. The European white settlers were known as rustlers or wranglers. And the white boys took much of their cues of how to dress, the style, and a lot of the pants the white boys had on. You see, they would have tassels on the side of those pants as well. Those tassels indicate a Hebraic connection, if you will, or a Judaic connection and style of dress with the tassels. The so-called Indians, or Mexicans we call them now, they were in parts of Texas and the Midwest. They used to wear a hat called a joel. It looks like a fez with a brim around it. The white boys took the joel and bent the sides and called it a cowboy hat. So a lot of their fashion cues came from American Indians. But the point Crumb just made, like, that's new information. And as he was talking, I was making notes as well. That's some new information that I was unaware of. But very well said. Good hour, 30 minutes, people. I'm good on my part. You guys have anything else to add? And like I already figured, we were going to start with something and then go another direction with it. If you guys want a copy of this outline, drop your email in the chat right now while I'm online. I can copy paste and go ahead and send it to you tonight. If you want to copy this, I'm not sure if Crumb making his PowerPoint available, but reach out to Crumb about that PowerPoint. Look like it's dope. Hell, I want a copy of it now to scroll through it. It's a lot of stuff that I don't even hear that the so-called American Indian movement on TikTok, which is it's a large crowd of people claiming to be Indian ancestry, who do not talk about that kind of stuff, about the two sects of so-called Indians, the ones who were visibly there already, and the ones who converted or got initiated were not. It's not mentioned.
Well, I think a lot of the reason why is because of that original point of the oath that's been taken. See, we can't think that just because, like you said, the zeitgeist, the spirit of the time that we in is coming into this enlightenment of a lot of information, but especially pertaining to right here in America. So they're not gonna just let us just go through that door you know, dancing like Teletubbies and just happy and just figure out all this information. No, they're gonna send their people in as well. So, you know, that was
Great point.
that was some some heavy stuff, man.
Great fucking point.
Now,
Listen, family, I want to go ahead, bro. Sorry.
I just want to say this as well, since you know that y'all open the door, I'll walk through it. In terms of the whole church situation, a lot of this holy family. Press 111 if you was in church and you seen black people do these Holy Ghost dances. Press 111. When I was in church, it's this one dance. The drummer be playing a certain drum, and black people start dancing. I can't even do the sound of the drum, but y'all know what sound I'm talking about. That drum play, and grandma them start dancing to that drum in church. Well, what if I told you that's the same dance your Indian ass was doing around the damn TP and that fucking campfire?
Sound about right to me. Yeah.
That dance that y'all be doing in them churches is the same dance these goddamn Indians be doing.
Mm-hmm.
I yield the floor.
Damn, that's a good point, man. That's a good point, man.
Yes, African dance and Black church dance share deep, direct connections, with many church dance styles directly involving West African spiritual techniques like ring shout, a counterclockwise ground and rhythmic dance were maintained by enslaved people, forming foundation for. Now I'm going to put in Indian, because Indians also do the same thing. I think culturally, everybody dances around fire, besides some goddamn Europeans. Let me see. Observation that American Indian dance, specifically in a powwow ceremonial setting, shares similar to Black church dance, such as ring shout. It's called a ring shout, apparently, or praise dance, is rooted in shared spiritual culture and communion expression. Both traditions often prioritize circular movement, connection to spiritual high energy, and rhythmic processive footwork.
Wow.
That is true.
Wow.
And since Cron brought great fucking point again. Sid Cron brought that up. Another style of dance that I see all over TikTok going crazy out of Memphis also looks like that. It's called juking dance. It also is very familiar to that. They all stand around in a circle and they do these dances, hopping on one foot. And I say, look at these damn Indians.
Mm-hmm.
Look at these damn Indians out here.
I mean, we are here.
You know what I'm saying? So again, but great point. Great point.
Could you
go ahead,
share my screen real quick? I just wanted to kind of give a name to it. So the ghost dance is what it was called when the Indians did it. Grandma them call it the Holy Ghost dance. Anyway, the ghost dance was a late 19th century spiritual movement started by a Paiute prophet. This is one of these Indian situations named Wovoka, promising peace and the return of traditional life. While some social media content draws parallels between the ghost dance and shouting with the Holy Ghost, a practice connected to African American ring shout, they are distinct traditions with different origins, or so they say.
But right.
If you go and look at this spirit dance, this ghost dance that the Indians were doing, let me see, can I go to images real quick? These spirit dances that these Indians were doing is the same shit your grandma did on Sunday.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Damn good.
Wow.
So in a sense, like the tradition, would we say that the tradition is still there? It's
right.
It's just hidden.
Right. Right.
My bad.
That's pretty deep, man. That's some deep stuff.
This looked like my grandma church Sunday morning, right before the preacher go into his boring ass sermon.
Yep.
Devotion service. Yeah.
Yep. Wow.
This is how grandma and them would dance on Sunday. Now, I went to white churches before. I went to white churches before.
Nothing like this,
And
though.
the white
No.
church is bland as raisins in that damn potato salad. I've been to those churches.
Yeah, they not doing that.
They not doing this. Let me spiritual idol human caught dancing in synagogue. Okay, well, let me just see. But I mean, I don't even gotta do no whatever. And yes, my apologies. This is this is Africans. No, this ain't it. Never mind. I'm just gonna close my screen. But anecdotal evidence is not evidence. But y'all know how y'all grandmas would dance. Y'all know how y'all aunties and big mamas and them would dance in church. What if I told you they was outside doing these quote unquote ghost dances and these spirit dances far removed from the concept of any organized religion. This wasn't about Jesus. This wasn't about Christianity. This was about tapping in with the spirit. I yield the floor.
Wow.
Damn. And I think that'd be a great fucking segue to end the show. Listen, man, thank y'all for tapping in, man. I definitely appreciate y'all. Y'all definitely got y'all money worth tonight. Crum, appreciate it, brother, for going all the way in on it, man. Blackbeard, always a pleasure to have you on here, brother. See you tomorrow at the gym. Again, we with the gym working, y'all. We get it in. We over here working out mentally and physically too. So thank y'all, brothers, for joining, man. We'll do our best to tap in next Sunday for another segment of Sunday School. If you have learned something this evening, man, please go give these brothers a follow. Blackbeard Mirage is all over YouTube. Crum is everywhere. Patreon, Facebook, everywhere. Tap in with these guys. And I think Crum, that lecture, that PowerPoint you put up, you did an entire like a series on it, didn't you? Like a couple of different lives on that shit too as well. So the information that he pulled up on the PowerPoint is definitely out there already. Get with him, hit him up, and definitely tap all the way in on that, brother. Any last words before we get out of here, brother, from anybody?
It just was a good show. Till next time.
Appreciate it. All right, gang. Until next time, man. Y'all stay tapped in. Check me out over on TikTok too. This the Pen and Pad Gang over on TikTok. A lot of great shit on there. One day I'm just gonna go over my TikTok information. My old Instagram page is still up. I can't access it. It's back when we was really banging hard on it. When the brothers from the Moorish Science Temple reported my page and had me blocked out. But I still love them. It's all love. Sometimes the truth be hidden, man. Dr. Malachi York said, only a fool would duck when you throw the truth at him. Peace and love.